Welcome to my channel. Click on that little red button to subscribe to my channel to get the latest videos, and click on that little bell notification icon to be notified. Serious, people have survived a murder attempt by dumb luck. What's your story? Throw it away because you got some media. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I was representing this guy that had embezzled almost $500,000 from his business partner. He was looking down the barrel at several years in prison. A bunch of his assets had been seized by the government. He was being sued by multiple creditors for north of $2 million and was in the midst of an ugly divorce and wasn't allowed to see his kids. I was one of 3 lawyers he had: criminal, civil, and divorce. He was drinking a lot and using coke. I used to get these incoherent phone calls in the middle of the night that ranged from threats to crying. He came to my office one day and asked for me, but I was in court. My secretary said he was perfectly civil. He then went to his divorce lawyer's office and shot him to death, got stopped by the police a short distance away, and was wounded in a shootout. He would later tell the cops that he had come to my office to shoot me that day and also planned to shoot his civil attorney. My supposed best friend decided that my wife and I were too perfect. Therefore, it must all be an act, and I was obviously abusing her. He was at our house after I made an awesome dinner, and we were having fun drinking and singing karaoke. I went to the kitchen to put some glasses away, came back and leaned on the couch with him slightly behind me to the left of me. I then heard a thunk and felt an amazing amount of pain on the top of my head. He had picked up the whiskey bottle on the table and smashed it into my skull. I was very confused to what was happening. Then the blood started pouring. I didn't want to get blood everywhere, so I went to the kitchen. Dude is pacing back and forth, saying weird crap. I thought about my gun, which was close by, but I wasn't thinking quite straight. He left. I had a huge concussion and still suffer side effects from it. My number 2 goal in life is to live longer than that asshole, just so I can shit on his grave. I, 18 female, back then, now 25, was on my way home at night after meeting a friend. My home was just 10 minutes away from this train station. After a few minutes, I felt someone following me. No big deal, I thought, just someone else walking home. But I started walking faster. I realized the person behind me was catching up. Weird. In my head, I started to make up scenarios of how to defend myself if the person would attack me. Never would I think this to actually happen. Well, until I felt something on the back of my head, hitting me hard. I went furious. I turned around and attacked the guy. My mind was just full of anger towards the stranger who I thought hit me. We were wrestling until I fell on the ground. He was sitting on top of me, strangling me. I tried to crawl my nails into his eyes as deep as I could, but I started to black out. Suddenly there was this thought in my head: wake up or you die. Well, adrenaline kicked in again and I opened my eyes and screamed on top of my lungs, attacking him again. That helped. He stood up and began to run. I laid there for a few seconds, then I started to run home, still screaming. My mom was already at our door and opened for me because my screams woke her up, or her mother, senses, who knows. She immediately called the cops and they could arrest him on the same night. Turned out he actually shot me in my head from behind. They assumed that the gun didn't work properly. The bullet didn't penetrate my skull and stuck in there, but as far as I know, they never found out why the gun misfired. I'm glad though. He told the cops that he had already followed me a few times in the past, but he never had the guts to do it. He wanted to kill me and rape my dead body. And that's a wild story. I have some Swiss newspaper articles as a source if someone cares about. I was exiting a bar once after last call and was with a friend who was a medic. We saw a girl laying in a snowbank near a telephone pole who had just been hit by a car. We ran over and tried to help her. Some others were already on the phone with 911. And I, not having any medical training, didn't have anything to contribute, but didn't want to just leave. The whole situation was concerning. I turned around for a second and started to hear people screaming. I turned around as a minivan was heading for us. The few people around this woman. They started to run, but I was too late. He hit me as I was trying to flee, put the car in reverse, ran me over again, then went forward and ran over me a third time. Turns out the guy was high and drunk and got into a fight with the woman's boyfriend, who I bear a strong resemblance to. He thought I was him. Not to throw a pity party for myself, but 9 years later, I have a ton of medical issues and my life pretty much started on a downward spiral since then. But sure, I guess I survived. I was 14 and outside in my garage, petting my cat. It was November, so it was already dark by 5 p.m. Someone opened the door behind me without me hearing, grabbed me by my ponytail and started dragging me outside. They hit me on my head with a brick and knocked me out. Pulled me halfway around my house. I'm guessing this is when they stabbed me on the left side of my stomach. This must have brought me out of daze because my mom said she heard me scream from inside where she, my brother, and my sister were in the kitchen. They came out of the front door and saw me bleeding on the sidewalk, called 911. Had 12 stitches, double layer, a severe concussion, and a whiplash. Didn't eat and hardly slept for a week. They never found him. Well, my mom got mad at me when I was 20 and I didn't give her money for her birthday, which I'm assuming was to pay off drug dealers of hers, so she stabbed me between the ribs. I ended up getting stuck in the bone and had to get it taken out in surgery. I was riding in a train across Eastern Europe. I was running low on money. Even though I had been warned that women should not travel alone in second class seating, I did not spring for first class. I was sitting alone in one of the compartments that seats 6. This was also a mistake and a very stupid one to sit alone. Essentially, the train stopped and a man got on. He was very drunk. He came into my compartment and I guess I thought I looked like his ex-wife. He attacked me. If it were not for the fact that this particular station was the border between two countries, I would be dead. Instead, border patrol from both countries were on the train. And while I was unable to scream, the door was open and at least half a dozen uniformed men jumped him and saved me. I was at the hospital for a while, but recovered. At one point during the trials, one of the cops asked if I wanted to hit him and his buddies to hold the guy down while I hit him. I thought he was joking. So I said, no, go ahead, you do it. I was also joking. But it turns out they took it seriously and were about to. I did put a stop to that, so at least. But they were so offended that someone from their country would attack a young female American tourist. They were furious with him. So many people were dependent upon tourism. My husband and I live above our place of business. Our alarm company called us at 3 a.m. to stay there. It was a motion detect alert, just one in a weird place. We assumed it was a mouse and just went to reset/check it out. Husband ended up face to face with a burglar who was on his way out of the window he had broken. He ran back inside. I called 911 and even heard chaos going on in the depths of the building. So much crashing and smashing. Burglary monkey climbed a 10-foot iron gate, bodily smashed through 2 sets of commercial gray glass doors and was outside again. My husband was like, F this dude, tore after him and tackled him. He got him on the ground and pinned him. Bear in mind the whole time I'm narrating to 911 and I'm chasing around in panties and tank top. I was a bit behind my husband in the middle of the street, about 15 feet away when a minivan squealed around the corner. It was his girlfriend/gateway driver. I luckily missed it. I was super focused on reading the license plate, which was one of the cutesy font of the state, and therefore had to read out. She yelled, "Get the F out of him or I'm running you over." Then she tried to. The audio and video I had to watch for the trial was horrifying. I had blocked it out nearly completely and really didn't remember how close it was. She gets the engine at me. I throw my heads up in front of my face when I realize that she's doing it and scream and jump out the way with inches to spare. He jumped in and off they went. He bled all over my husband, yikes, and eventually the DNA and the partial plate info nailed them. They're both in prison. Attend them, trial sucks. ETA. To make this clear, do not do this. Adrenaline is a hell of a drug and it's best not to fight burglars. We both could have died. It was the 3rd time this guy had broken in and caused an amount of uninsured damage and inventory loss that definitely contributed to the whole thing. He wouldn't have stopped doing it. He He was a pro and was doing upwards of 3 jobs a night, most nights, all over the state, for years. My sister had this one friend when we were growing up. I would always get this bad vibe from. She would try to pick on my little brother, but I would always stop her. I was 8, she was 10. Once we were at a lake, all the kids were swimming. I swam to the deep, roped off part, but I was still little and really shouldn't have. She kept acting weird and getting closer to me, making this weird laugh. She pushed me off the wooden pole in the water, and I got scared and I started to swim back. But she came up behind me and pushed me under the water. It didn't click at first. She was trying to drown me, but after she aggressively pushed me the 3rd time, I had this crazy moment of clarity. It was like the world slowly down ever so briefly. I relaxed and let myself sink, swam underneath her and came up behind her. I grabbed her and shoved her face in the water, keeping my legs on her back so her body couldn't rise. I waited until her struggling slowed down and let her come up. I waited in the water, saying nothing, bracing myself for her retaliation, but she just looked in panic, swam back to shore. I told my sister, who had already expressed that the girl was weird. We confronted her together and she just looked really dazed. In a monotone voice, she said, "I'm sorry. I didn't know it would be like that." It wasn't until I replayed those words in my mind later that I realized what she was saying was, "Sorry, I tried to drown you." It wasn't until I almost drowned myself that I realized how horrible it is to do to someone. Serious. 3 men drugged me and kidnapped me. I woke up on the floor with one of them tearing my clothes off and my moon boot broken foot. I tried kicking him off the boot, but he started kicking my head into the floor and I passed out. I woke up in daylight in a garbage bin, naked, in a pool of my own blood. I don't know how the hell I got out, and I found the nearest policeman, but then I collapsed again. I woke up in a hospital with 52 stitches in my head and 78 in and around my vulva and breast. The doctor said it was the worst rape trauma she ever saw. They say it's a miracle I'm alive. I don't know how I did it. They were never caught. I'm a crisis trauma PTSD counselor now. They didn't win.